Hello, bonjour, namaste, ni hao, and ohio everybody. What is going on? It is Gale here. Welcome back to the YouTube channel once again for another Danmachi video. And today we're making a video that I didn't think I would be making for at least another year or two. In fact, I didn't think I'd be making this video until he was done with, like, say, volume 22 or volume 23 even, to be quite honest. But it turns out that Omori is a little bit ahead of the curve than we are, and he has said and confirmed after the release of volume 20, at the end of volume 20, and along with that in an interview and also on Twitter, that volume 21 and onwards will be the final arc of Danmachi. That is it. This is it. We're entering the end game now for Danmachi. Now, of course, we don't actually have that much more information. I could go over the interview where he drops a little bit more info, but it's not a whole lot from what I've read and just skimmed through. I want to leave that as a separate video because it's going more into detail about his current thoughts with Don Mimo, Don Crow, the anime and so on and so forth. So I want to leave that as a separate video. It's more of a video about Omori and his thoughts with the Danmachi franchise as a whole. So I think that's a separate video we can tackle. But in this video, I want to kind of talk about the idea that Danmachi is coming to an end. It's a series that we followed for 10 years now. I mean, I will say this: a lot of series tend to go on for more than 10 years. We've seen Sword Art Online. I was gonna say Sword Art Rotoria, the wrong series. Sword Art Online. We've seen certain Magical Index. We've seen so on and so forth. There's so many plethora of manga, light novels, and so on and so forth that have gone on for more than 10 years. But we know Omori has had this notion that he wants to finish the Danmachi story in 1 year of Bell's adventuring career. Now, we'll talk a little bit about that as well and how that's influenced the story as a whole. And I want this to be a spoiler-free video, okay, guys? I want this to be a spoiler-free video. Of course, if you want to put spoiler comments down below, I will not stop you, but I would advise you guys and I would plead and request you guys, put a spoiler warning before you comment. If I see any of you guys spoilering without doing that, without putting that warning for people to be assured about before you see it, because of course the best way to do it is to just put a spoiler, press enter a couple of times, or put ... and keep entering after a H dot. Do it like 6-7 times, and then put your comment if you want to put any spoiler comments. Remember, anything that's not been shown on the anime is considered a spoiler, so keep that in mind. But please just be that considerate. But I am keeping this a spoiler-free video, and as a result, I'm also inviting people from the anime and both light novel community and manga community as well, if you're a Sword Art Rotoria manga reader as well, to come into this video and obviously leave your thoughts, leave a bit of a discussion down below in the comment section below, because I want to see what you guys have to say as well in regards to this. Because yeah, like I said, I want to talk about that whole thing of the whole 1 year thing. I want to talk about how many light novels we have potentially left. I want to talk about generally as well, is it too quick? Is it just fine right now to enter the final arc? I want to talk about all of that. So I think without further ado, let's get into it. Do I think, is it too fast? Kinda. I mean, we knew Omori was at the 50% mark when he was dropping volume 14, I think it was. And I remember even saying at the time, to some of my friends who I was playing Don Mimo with at the time, 2017, 2018, this would have been, I said that we might be going to volume 28 if it means 50%, right? 50%. Double that, volume 14 to volume 28, right? It makes a lot of sense. And it's still possible. I mean, when he says it's the final arc, it could be anywhere between 3 volumes to like 8 volumes, who knows, right? But I don't think it's going to be that much, to be quite honest. I really don't think it's going to be that much. When he says it is going to be the final chapter, and he even confirms that literally the final arc is going to be called the final arc, and the last chapter of the entire story is the end. He's not given us much information. I will say that, by the way. He's not given us much information, literally. I would like to go over to the tweet, of course, where he says that, but the special edition cover of Sword Art Rotoria 15 is on there, and I don't want to really spoil people on it, so I'm not going to do that necessarily. But I will say that he says that the end is the final chapter of the title of the final chapter and stuff, and the final arc and all. But I want to also talk about the fact that it could be anywhere between 3 and 7. Now, I don't think it's going to be that much. I think it's going to be an extra 5 novels, maybe. So I expect maybe from 21 we get to 25 or 26. So 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Yeah, 25, 26. I expect to see that much. I don't think it's going to be 3 novels. I think it's too little, to be quite honest. And of course, with what's happening in volume 20, no spoilers, I do think there's going to be still a lot more to cover as well. We still have to also still develop Belle and I's as a relationship, because at the end of the day, remember, we've been through Belle and Ryu's relationship, we've been through Belle and Freya's relationship, Belle Hestia, Belle Lily. We've seen him to cultivate and develop these relationships and storylines with all of these not only female protagonists but even the male protagonist sides. You see his relationship with Welf, you see his relationship with Mord and Finn, Hermes, and so on and so forth develop over the years. We still have to cover all of those, and then of course cover Belle and I's. We have to go through that plot point. We have to develop their relationship, we have to develop their feelings to one another, and obviously we have to see how they end up being as a duo more so than anything else, because we do know that at the end of the day, Liaris Freeze, Belle's whole motive is to be on the same level as I's. What happens when he gets there? What happens if he surpasses her? Is Liaris Freeze gonna be done and dusted with, or is it going to evolve into something more potentially? Because that could happen. That could very well happen. And I have a theory that is going to be a little bit spoilery, but I'll talk about that in a separate video, of course, for volume 20. It's a little bit spoilery, so I'm not going to touch it right now. But I have a theory as well in regards to Liaris Freeze based on the most recent light novel. So we'll come on to that in just in a separate video, not just a moment. We'll come on to that in a separate video. But we need to see that happen. We need to see that development happen as well. Then on top of all of that as well, we have to also tackle Belle and Astreus, the Zenoses. That is another huge plot point that, of course, people tend to forget about. I will be honest and say that I even forgot about it in my preparation for this video. I was just looking through some stuff. I skimmed through the interview as well. I haven't read through the interview in detail. Like I said, I want to leave that for a separate video, but I skimmed through it just to get an idea of what he mentioned. I didn't see any mention of the Zenoses there, and also just generally I was looking at some of his tweets, some of the stuff. I didn't even think about the Zenoses. I just thought of it right now that, Belle and Astreus, that is another huge plot point that needs to be addressed. And I think that will also cover one light novel in itself, you could argue, right? Because we need to have that final fight between Belle and Astreus as well. Because that, I think, is going to, and this is a theory of mine again that I can easily say because it's not a spoiler, but I think, of course, I do think the Zenoses and especially Astreus will be a part of that final fight. A lot of people are saying that Belle and Astreus should fight to the death. I don't think that's necessarily the case. They have to decide a winner. It's a best 2 out of 3, I think, is what's going to be the case basically here. Belle's going to be the winner, of course, but I think he's going to save him and say, you know what, we need to fight together. We need to fight as one. Again, I have another theory based off volume 20 that I will mention in a separate video. Again, I should probably note these down. You know what? I'm going to get my sticky notes up so that I can remember to mention these things basically in a separate video when I'm talking about volume 20 again. But I do think volume 20 has a lot of stuff that I want to, kind of theorize about, my theories coming out of it as well. Again, I want to wait until everything is confirmed and everything. But yeah, I do have a lot of theories in regards to it. Ending. 1 second. There we go. Just need to type this down. There we go. But I do think that the Zenoses and Astreus will be a part of the ending, and I do think Astreus will be one of the key members in that final fight. Remember, he is a level 7 monster. Keep that in mind. He is a level 7 monster, and not to mention, if he has gotten stronger since those events, he is very, very capable of being a huge part of the fight, and not to mention how Weene can come into play, maybe with her new skills and abilities as she's grown as well, and her connection with Belle, of course, right? How about, the likes of Gross, Lid, Ray, Marie? I mean, there's just so much possibilities on that front as well that I think will come into play, and I do think we need an entire light novel or two to dedicate towards that as well. So when he says it's going to be the final arc, I don't think it's going to be just a short 2 or 3 light novel arc we've had so far, right? Because the school district arc has been 2 light novels, basically, that means, right? Because if the next arc is going to be the start of the next, or the next volume is going to be the start of the next arc, that means school district has been only 19 and 20. Freya familiar? 16, 17, 18. The deep floors 12, 13, 14, and then we of course have the Zenos, which was 9 to 11. So so far Omori's arcs have only been 3 light novels, but I don't think he can afford to do that with the final arc. I think there's still a lot of plot points that need to be resolved before we tackle that final fight against the one-eyed black dragon, which we know is the end goal at this point. Let's be real, that is the end goal. We've known about it since the very beginning, well, I say since the very beginning, since volume 6 basically, right? Since Hermes mentioned it in front of Belle, it's been obvious that has been the goal, because why else would he mention it when he's talking about heroes, right? We know that of course with volume 5 Hermes was talking about the hero, Belle being a hero and all that, Zeus and all that sort of jazz. Then volume 6 comes into play and we have that whole situation happen. So it's definitely something that I think we have to obviously keep in mind, that the one-eyed black dragon is for sure the end goal. The question is, more so than anything else, however, is how we're going to get to that point. And like I said, I think there's still so many plot points and, things that we need to go through, of course, right? Because the school district arc goes over a couple of different things that I'm not gonna spoil obviously people about, but it still obviously is a minor arc in the grand scheme of things, right? It's like an in-between filler arc to kind of give you a lot of information and then prepare you for what's to come next. And we still have, like I said, the Belle and I stuff to come. We still have, of course, the Zenos and Astrea stuff to happen as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see where we go from here in terms of the story, in terms of the anime as well. I am very curious to see how the anime goes, because now I want to talk a little bit about the anime as well, because let's not get it twisted, right? If from a light novel reader perspective, I know that the anime has been very hit or miss, right? Let's be real, the anime has been a very hit or miss, but I will say from an anime only's perspective, I will say the anime has been on fire. Let's be real, right? I'm not even going to get it twisted. The people I know who are anime onlys, in fact, I've been seeing some big Twitter accounts watching Danmachi recently, and they are in love with it, which is I'm so happy to see that. I'm so happy to see the people in love with Danmachi, of course, right? And even if it's via the anime, which you could argue is a subpar adaptation, shall we say? Let's be real, right? When you talk about no Sorotoria, cut contents and everything, shorter episodes or shorter episode counts compared to other light novel anime, so on and so forth. You know what? Yes, that is an issue, but if people are enjoying it, that's the most important thing for me personally. If people are enjoying the story, people are enjoying Belle's story more so than anything else, that is the most important thing for me as a fan of the series. I want to see more people appreciate the story and appreciate the characters and stuff. Yes, they could go and read the light novels and it's amazing, but yeah. Now, that's besides the point. I've gone on a tangent here a little bit there, but my point being, when it comes to the anime as well, is how is the anime going to handle everything? Season 6, we know, is probably just going to be the school district arc. It kind of has to be only the school district arc. I think there's enough episodes. 12 episodes should cover it. To be honest, it'll be probably a one core easily. 12 episodes should cover the school district arc. I think that's what they should do, to be quite honest. And to be quite honest, they could actually do it in 2026, to be honest, if they really wanted to. Because if we get volume 20 in English in 2025, 2026 could be when we get season 6, which, yeah, makes a lot of sense. But then we'll have to wait for quite some time for season 7, which will be the final arc, and season 8, season 7 and season 8, which will probably be the final arc. But anyways, besides the point, my point is, as I was coming onto it, is if we are going to wait for season 7 and 8, may as well keep season 6 on the back burner for a bit. Let's start Sorotoria. I have to come back to that point again. It is time we start Sorotoria again, because the anime is getting to a point now where missing Sorotoria is a big problem. It is a huge problem in my opinion. A lot of context is missing, a lot of content is also missing, and a lot of cues for certain characters like Eyes, Lafia, who's been a non-factor, the Loki family as a whole. even the Hestia familiar, Bell and his relationship with the Loki familiar and everything is missing because we're not getting Sword of Ratoria. And I think we're coming to a point now, especially where the light novels are converging, right? It's been confirmed that volume 15 and volume 20 are effectively happening parallelly, and one and the other is going to be influencing each other heavily. Previously, you could tell that there was some connection, and volume 18 was, I guess, the first time, and the most recent episode was proof of it. It was the first time we missed out on potentially a big social cue, or a big cue, sorry, not social cue, a big cue because of the whole literal eye scene, right, which didn't end up being described and explained in the anime, which is what I expected and I hinted towards at the beginning of the season as to why you should probably go and read Sword of Ratoria volume 10, especially because that's where Otaro trains eyes actually, and it's cut from the anime, of course, right? Because it's not in the main story; it's in Sword of Ratoria. You missed that favor and that reasoning, unfortunately, and I think that's going to happen more and more, especially with volume 20 and onwards. Now, we'll have to wait and see. I still think that volume 20 has been tame in that whole connection thing so far. A little bit spoilery there, but I'll be honest and say that, to be honest, it doesn't give anything away. It's not fully connected with volume 15 just yet, I feel, but I think with later light novels, as we progress in, it's gonna get more and more convergent, I feel. So let's wait and see, of course, right? I'm quite curious to see how everything pans out. Now, I want to talk about this, and I'll be very honest and say this, all right? The 1 year thing is absolute BS, in my opinion, in all honesty. I wasn't sure if Omori was going to stick with it, but it seems like he is going to stick with it. Right now, in the light novels, it's been 9 months since Bell started his adventuring, and since Bell met Eyes. 3 months is what we have. I wasn't expecting him to actually be so dedicated in sticking to that 1 year deadline. I'm very impressed at Omori's stubbornness with it, to be quite honest, because I think he could have easily cheesed it and said, well, I said around 1 year, it could be 1.5 years. I think 1.5 years would have even been better, to be quite honest. Anything longer than 1 year would have been better, to be quite honest, because I think 1 year exactly is now turning out to be a bit of a problem, to be quite honest. It should be 1.5 years at least, in my opinion. They need another 7-8 months, man. I don't think the current Orario can take the One-Eyed Black Dragon. As much as I've been defending that point, there is a small chance. It just depends on level ups and everything, to be quite honest. I will say that. But yeah, like I said, I think it also is the whole thing of plot points and Bell learning more, going into the dungeon more and everything. I feel like that should have taken a little bit more time, because it does feel a little bit quicker now. But we'll have to wait and see. Again, I do feel like now I'm a little bit kind of like, well, if he's actually sticking to that 1 year exactly, wow, that is some stubbornness and some dedication to stick to that 1 year from Omori. I'm very impressed with it, but I don't think it should have been the case. I think it should have been 1.5. 1.5 would have been the best, in my opinion. If you are going to stick to around 1 year, 1.5 year would have been more than fine. Especially with the pace he's going at, I think 1.5 year would have made sense, you know, with the character developments and strength developments and everything. I think 1.5 year would have fit perfectly. 2 years would have been ideal. I mean, of course, if he was going to do a much longer period of time, I think generally speaking, the development of these characters should have been a lot slower in relation. But seeing the development of these characters, seeing how they've been growing from strength to strength, level ups and everything, I think he could have easily done 1.5 years and 2 years, and it would have made sense. The 1 year part is what's making it a bit of a problem, realistically, right? So let's wait and see, of course, right? Let's wait and see. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about, you know, Danmachi ending soon. I say soon. If it's even 5 or 6 volumes more, depending on how much of Sword of Ratoria he has still to write, I'm thinking about it, and that's why I'm looking up in the sky. I'd like to say it'll probably end in 2029 or 30. So let's see, 2025, let's see, he adds another light novel. 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030. 2028, 29 is where I 29, let's say 2029 is where I expect the last light novel to be. We'll see if I'm right or wrong on that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Once again, be considerate. Don't put spoilers. head first. I will keep an eye out, so I will be around to delete comments. But I appreciate all of y'all for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel for all that sort of good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.